All right, guys, Wager Detective here. We're gonna take a look at the top 25 teams that were involved with games today. Um, on on this Thursday. Let's start off here. Take a look at these team stats and see what the difference in the game was. In this Tennessee game, Tennessee shot better, a little bit more efficiently. Um, three three point percentage was a little higher, and Auburn had 12 turnovers. 15 points off turnovers for Tennessee. If you could look at the difference in the game, that probably was the difference in that game. Auburn did lead 69% of the game. Tennessee um, found a way to win this game. But if you look at the difference in the game, that was the difference in that game. A little bit more efficient field goal percentage for Tennessee, and then points in the paint they own there, and then points off the turnovers. Let's go on to the next game here. Louisville, Miami, 73-78. Miami wins the game. If we look at the difference in this game, 3-point percentage, a little bit more efficient there. Louisville lived beyond the arc, couldn't get it done. They lived and died by the three, they couldn't get it done there. And then points in the paint, Miami was a little bit more effective there. So that was the difference in the game there. Miami led the game 57% of the time there. So if you look at this game, that was pretty much the difference there. More efficient for Miami from 3-point. Louisville expended 24 shots, only made 6 3-pointers in that game. And that proved to be the difference in that game, along with the points in the paint on that game. Okay, this is how you get better as a capper. You want to stay in these box scores. It gives you something to quickly get back here if this thing's not going. Okay, so we're going to Washington and Wisconsin. Wisconsin, a little bit of a scare there in this conference tournament game. They win 85-82. Let's take a look at the team stats here. 3-point percentage, clearly the difference in the game. To some degree, they win by 3. Ironically enough, 15 for 39 from 3-point range there. They were 100 for 100 from the free throw line. Those two things right there proved to be the difference. Points off turnovers, Wisconsin, 15 points there. Even though Washington owned the paint there, 40-24. If you look at their, and Wisconsin did have an 18-point lead at one point, but if you look at the 3-point, should have buried Washington. But if you look at it, Washington controlled the paint, so that's what kept them in this game. But Wisconsin, perfect from the line. They got it done late, and they shot better from 3. So that was the difference in that game there. Let's take a look at Massachusetts and Miami, Ohio. Miami, Ohio loses their first game of the year, lose by 4 to UMass. Some will question whether they're going to get into the tournament now after that loss. It's going to be interesting to see. I think they should still get in. If you look at field goal percentage, UMass had more opportunities, shot better from the field goal percentage. But if you look at Miami shot pretty good from 3-point range compared to, they shot 9 more they made 9 more 3-pointers than UMass and still lost the game, which is pretty impressive. Let's see what the difference. Look at this, 54 points in the paint for UMass there. They were plus 24 in the paint, and then that was enough to seal the win for these guys, even though Miami, Ohio made 9 more 3-pointers, so 27-point difference in 3 points. But if you look at the points in the paint, Miami scored 24 there, and then points off turnovers, slight little edge there. Little things like that can cause a game to get better, and then they were more efficient at the line by 1. So all those things correlated to UMass pulling up the upset on Miami, Ohio. Let's go on to the next game. Northwestern versus Purdue. This is one that Wager Detective had. Wager Detective had plus 13.5. Let's take a look at some of these stats on this game. I mean, Purdue just absolutely dominated the game. 98% of the game they led, but Northwestern in the second half, they found a way to get a little bit better with the three-point shooting. They were 0 for 6 in the first half of this game, and they finished 6 for 14, so they finished with a better three-point percentage than Purdue, but they got controlled on the glass. Look at the offensive rebounds. And then turnovers played a difference. Northwestern, a really solid team, very well coached. It's a shame that they're not going to make the tournament. It would have been nice to see them find a way to win this Big Ten. I guess it just wasn't in the cards, but a team to look forward to in the future. I like Northwestern, and I do not like this Purdue team, regardless of their big name and how they are. Okay, let's go to Providence St. John's. St. John's, 13-point victory there. If we look at the stats on this game, St. John's, 27 three-point attempts, only made 7. Providence shot better from three-point range. Neither team did really extraordinary at the line, 71%, 68%. Offensive rebounds, look at that, 18 to 4. If you're looking for stats in a game, this is how you get better as a capper. You find this, where the advantages are, and who they're going to play next, and see if they can get those advantages off again. But 18 to 4 offensive rebounds. And if we look at points off turnovers, 17 to 10 in favor of St. John's. Points in the paint, St. John's controls there too. So that was the key of the game. Points off turnovers in favor of St. John's. Points in the paint in favor of St. John's. Fast break points in transition, 23 to 8. And you got to give it to Providence. They held tight, only lost by 13, considering all those metrics that they lost by in that game. North Carolina State, Virginia. Virginia, a team to definitely keep an eye on in the tournament. I think they're going to be a tough team to have to go against. If we look at field goal percentage, 48 to 37, they made 8 more field goals than North Carolina State. North Carolina State, to me, is a fraud team. If you really look at it, I'm glad they're knocked out of this tournament. They can't make the, I don't know if they'll make March Madness, but I don't think that they don't impress me at all, and I don't think they should go dancing. They did shoot good from the free throw line. You got to give them that there, 21 to 24. And if you look at Virginia, they only had 14 attempts at the stripe, and they shot it well from there too. But let's see the difference in this game. Points in the paint, 30 to 16 in favor of Virginia. They controlled the paint. And what's the other controlling factor here that's not standing out? Rebounds were pretty close. Steals, blocks. Fast break points, there it is, 15 to nothing there in favor of Virginia. Transition, they got out on the breaks and they scored those baskets to win by 7. The team to look out for there in Virginia. Okay, Iowa State versus Texas Tech. Iowa State handles their business here, 75-53 against Texas Tech. Let's try to find the difference in the game here. Field goal efficiency, 30-56 to 19-56. They 11 more baskets made. And then 3-point, Texas Tech did good there, which was good. Free throws, relatively the same. Rebounds, Iowa State plus 10 on the rebounds there. And then turnovers, points off turnovers there's another key, 17 to 4 points off turnovers for Iowa State. And then look at the points in the paint there, 42 to 18 in favor of Iowa State. That was the game. That's the difference in the game right there. And that's probably, that'll be what Wager Detective's next show is called, the difference in the game. There you go, 42 to 18. That's a massive jump there for them. Iowa State in that game controlled the interior, and that was the difference there. Okay, we travel on to Xavier versus UConn, quarterfinal matchup. UConn 93-68 made light work of the Musketeers here. And if we look at field goal percentage, 20% better there for UConn. Free throws, Xavier got to the line quite a bit, but didn't really convert a lot of those plays at the line. largest lead. UConn was up by 25 at one point. Fast break points pretty even, but another team, points in the paint. UConn plus 26 points in the paint there. So, you look at that, and then you look at against a team like Iowa State. How would a team like UConn do versus Iowa State if it came down to a battle of the paint? Things to keep in mind going forward. So, UConn makes light work of Xavier there, and then we travel to BYU Houston. I'm not impressed with this Houston team. They haven't looked good all year long. They found ways to lose games they should have won, but they get it done here against in the quarterfinal against BYU. Now we look at what happened here in this game. If we look at what the discrepancy was, points in the paint, 30-24 for Houston. And then they were only 5 for 17. So BYU was better from three, but Houston, look at the field goals, 26-58, 21-51, 5 more baskets, a little bit more efficient. Not efficient, just more high volume of just getting off more shots. And then the steals, 12-6. That's a big thing, but it didn't really hurt them because BYU still controlled the game or tied Houston with the points off turnovers, fast break points, but the points in the paint and then rebounds, 37-30, seems to be the difference there. Houston beats BYU. Off to UCF Arizona, and Arizona absolutely demolishes UCF here, 81-59. 3 for 21 for UCF from 3-point range. I mean, that's absolutely horrible. 14% is not going to get it done, and I guess they felt they needed to do that against an Arizona team that's just hard to get behind, and then you're chasing, and you got to take those shots. 38-28 points in the paint, 24-15 fouls. Explains the reason why Arizona 17th from 31 from the line, so they got 7 more points at the line there. But this game was pretty much decided off of, you had turnovers, and you had fast break points, and then points in the paint, and then just a lot of fouls. And Arizona just built up a lead off just winning, controlling the whole game 96% of the time there. Okay, off to Florida State Duke. Florida State almost upsets Duke. That would have been a big upset for them there if they could have gotten that done. Let's take a look at here and see what happened there. Florida State, better field goal percentage with less volume. They took 10 less shots, still only lost by 1. And they shot better than Duke from 3-point range. Duke's not really a team that really relies on the outside game. They controlled the paint 34-30. And then points off turnovers, Florida State controlled that. And then Duke was a little bit more effective at the line as far as volume and just knocking down a couple more free throws than Florida State. But a big scare there for Duke. They turned to 30-2 in the quarterfinals there, and then they'll be going to the semifinals. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. But that's the recap there for the top 25 teams. And if we look at Clemson, North Carolina, Clemson's taking the lead here. Wager Detective called Clemson today to get it done against North Carolina based off of how they played so close last game. I just felt like they were going to win this game. I mean, North Carolina missing a big player. I'm not so concerned with the players' names and these guys that are stars for these teams. I just go by the numbers, but I knew they were missing a big player there for that North Carolina team. One of their Caleb kids, he was a superstar for them, injured for the year. And then you look at TCU, they're down 25-28. It's 10:33 p.m. This is Wager Detective's difference in the game report for the top 25 teams. Follow Wager Detective on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and I will talk to you soon. Later.